Welcome to Port Isaac, which is a traditional fishing village in North Cornwall and is also probably better known as being home to the TV series Doc Martin, starring Martin Clunes. In the TV series, they call this place Portwenn, but its official name is Port Isaac. Set in its own natural harbour, what was once a simple fishing village is obviously now making most of its revenue from tourism from the Doc Martin series. Although the series has ended now, you'll still see many shops and businesses promoting the Doc Martin theme. So as we come around the corner here, on the bottom right of this screen, just after that big white house on the corner, you will see Sea Cove Cottage, which was where Louisa lived in the Doc Martin series. Here we have the old schoolhouse. We'll talk a bit more about that later in the video. And then we also have the Cornish Cove here, which is a very adorable one of Port Isaac's eateries, and it was actually featured in the series as well. So this is probably one of the most well-known buildings in the whole of Port Isaac, and it's Fern Cottage, which was used as Dr. Ellingham's surgery in the show. It was actually recently listed for about £1 million, I think just over £1 million. And when I filmed this a few weeks ago, there was a sold sign outside. So someone has bought it and already listed it as an Airbnb when I Googled it, where you can stay for an incredible amount of money. I don't know what they actually paid for it. I couldn't find that out, but I definitely think they got it somewhat reduced. Something I noticed about Cornwall was there was a lot of jackdaws down there, which is something I don't think we see as often further north. As you can see, they are still doing Doc Martin tours around here, and it was a show with a really big cult fan base that still visit now. So this pub on the right, which leads down onto the harbour, did feature in the show. It was given a different name. It was called the Crab and Lobster, and actually if you visited whilst they were filming, they would often have that sign outside. This is the harbour, which appears in every series, and as you can see, that pub on the right is again the one that was used in the Doc Martin series, and you can see the Crab and Lobster sign there. So if you take this path and you're heading up towards Doc Martin's surgery, which has now been sold up at the top, we're going to walk past that in a minute. I think one of the nicest things about Port Isaac is the view of the harbour. Because it loops round in a kind of horseshoe, you get to see it from almost everywhere you are in Port Isaac, all along the, what you would call High Street, I guess. So here we are up by the surgery, and as you can see, this house really does boast an absolutely gorgeous view. Probably one of the best in Port Isaac. I really love this garden down here, although I guess it is pretty overlooked by everybody going up to see Doc Martin's surgery. So just on the left here, as we pan round, you can see Burt Lodges restaurant from the series. So unfortunately, it isn't an actual restaurant or a place where you can go and eat. It's just somebody's house, but it was used as a setting for a restaurant, and you can look down on it. Here's a little look into one of the shops. A lot of them are quite similar. They have very unique pottery and souvenirs. There's a lot of little fudge and sweet shops. like this one, which was actually used as Mrs. Tishall's chemist shop in the Doc Martens series. It was called Buttermilk Confections, but I don't know if it's changed hands, but it's now called Harbour Treats. So a bit of a fun fact for you, that is the only interior that was actually filmed in Port Isaac, with the exception of Louisa's house a few times in the first few series, and the Crab and Lobster a few times. Everything else was filmed in a barn a few miles outside of Port Isaac. So here's the back of the old schoolhouse, which was used as a school village in the show, and Louisa teaches there, in fact. Now it's a hotel and a restaurant and a cafe, and you can go and stay there. I think there's about 12 rooms, or you can just grab a coffee or something to eat there. So it was built in 1875. It was actually used as a school for the children of Port Isaac right up until the 1980s, when it was converted into the hotel that it is today. I personally love walking to the back, and there's a cutout in the wall and you get this fantastic view, and if you look straight down there's lots of rock pools and interesting things going on down there. We walk this way back to the car park, and we walk past these adorable little nesting seagulls. There was loads of them all along this particular part of the cliff.